Chapter 10. The Hidden Past of the Guest. It was fortunate that I had taken the precautions to ensure the safety of my dreaded visitor, the man who now depended on me. When I awoke the next morning, I quickly realized that it would be impossible to keep him hidden in my rooms for long. By and by, his door creaked open and he stepped out. I thought he looked worse by daylight. "I don't know what name to call you. I have given out that you are my uncle. Did you assume some name aboard the ship?" "Yes, dear boy. I went by the name Provis. I'll stick with that unless you want me to use another. My real name, though, is Abel Magwitch." He ate his breakfast noisily, greedily, with a kind of animal hunger that made me lose my appetite. I sat silently staring at the tablecloth. After breakfast, he lit his pipe, then stretched out both hands to me as if expecting some kind of admiration. "Just look at what I've made, a proper gentleman," he said, "a true, genuine one. It does me good to see you like this, dear boy." "Stop," I said, recoiling. "We need to talk seriously. What's the plan? How do we keep you safe? How long are you planning to stay? Where can you leave safely?" I decided that the best course of action would be able to find him some quiet lodgings nearby, which he could move into once Herbert returned. Then I turned to the issue of his clothes. After a long struggle, I managed to convince him to dress like a respectable farmer. I even got him to cut his hair and apply some powder. I rented a room for him in a lodging house just across the street from Garden Court, where I could still see him from my window. Fortunately, we got the second floor, and then I made the necessary purchases for Uncle Provis. Then I went to see Mr. Jaggers. "Now, Pip," said Jaggers seriously, "be careful." It was obvious he knew Magwitch was in town. "I only want to confirm something, Mr. Jaggers," I said, "that the man who claims to be my benefactor is indeed Abel Magwitch." "He is," Jaggers replied. "And no one else?" "No one else," he repeated. We shook hands, and he looked at me with a piercing expression before I left. The next day, the clothes I had ordered for Provis arrived, and he put them on. But it was hopeless. No matter what I dressed him in, he still looked like the same convict from the marshes. Herbert returned that evening full of energy. "Handel, old chap, how are you? But why do you look so pale and thin? My dear fellow, hello," he said, stopping suddenly when he saw the man in the room. "Herbert, my dear friend," I said nervously, "this is a visitor of mine." Provis stepped forward with the Bible in hand. "It is all right, dear boy. Take this in your right hand," he told Herbert. "May God strike you dead if you ever reveal my secret to anyone. Kiss it." Herbert awkwardly complied, clearly uncomfortable. "Now you are bound by oath," said Provis, shaking his hand cheerfully. As we all sat by the fire, I could see Herbert was feeling just as disturbed and unsettled as I was. That night, once I had helped Provis across the street and safely into his lodging, I explained the entire situation to Herbert. "What is it to be done?" I asked Herbert. "I can't accept him, just look at him," and we both shuddered. "He seems very fond of you," Herbert said gently, "but we have to get him out of England. That's the priority." "Yes," I agreed, "and maybe he will be willing to go if I accompany him, but first, I know nothing of his life, apart from that awful time in the marshes. I have to ask him directly." "Yes, do," Herbert said. So when Provis came to breakfast the next morning, we asked him about it after the meal was over. "Well now, dear boy," he began, "I'm not going to give you a storybook version of my life. I'll give it to you plain. In and out of jail, over and over, until I was sent away. I've done everything, well, everything but hanging. I've no notion where I was born. All I ever knew was my name, Abel Magwitch. Nobody ever wanted me. They either drove me off or let the law take me. I was just a ragged street rat, always ending up in trouble. The jailers called me a hardened one, a regular customer of the lockups. He explained his life of petty crimes: begging, stealing, poaching, working when he could, hawking goods, doing farm labor, nothing that paid much, but plenty that brought him trouble. Then he became a man. I met a man at the Epsom races 20 years ago, a man I'd like to bash with a poker. His name was Compayson. That's the man you saw me fighting in the ditch that night, Pip. Compayson had been well-educated and smooth-talking. People saw him as a gentleman. One night before the race, he was drinking with a landlord who knew me. The landlord said, "This is the man for you." And from that point, Compayson took me under his wing, for all the wrong reasons. We became partners in crime, swindling, forging, passing fake banknotes, but while I did the dirty work, Compayson stayed clean and collected profits. There was another man named Arthur with him. They had been in a bad thing with a rich lady some years before and had made a pot of money. Then Arthur lay dying with the horrors of the woman, dressed in all white and haunting him, and died in that fear. For Compayson it was good riddance. Compayson got me into nets that made me his slave. I was always in debt to him, always under his thumb, and always in danger. He was younger and a skilled devil, who always saved himself with his learning. He had no mercy. We worked together for 4 or 5 years, and finally both got arrested. Separate defenses, no communication, was what Compayson said to me. I had to sell my clothes to get jaggers. I was miserably poor. When we were put in the dock, Compayson looked a fancy gentleman, while I looked a common wretch. When the prosecution opened, it bore heavy upon me and light upon him. The counsellor for Compayson pointed out the difference: one younger, well brought up, the other elder and ill brought up. I had a history. Compayson had been to school, and I had been in lockups. The court believed he had fallen into bad company, me, and given him mercy. I got the word guilty. "Is he dead?" I asked. "I've not heard of him," Provis replied. While he had been speaking, Herbert had quietly written a note inside the cover of a book and slid it over to me. It read, "Young Havisham's name was Arthur. Compayson was Miss Havisham's lover." I read it, gave Herbert a brief nod, and closed the book. Neither of us said a word.